Batman, Batman, Batman. The season's
This is
done.
not
The
a
Premier
Batman
League season
podcast.
is done. Yes, that's how I'm starting the podcast. But the Premier League season is done, finally. Possibly the longest Premier League season of all time. A big one for us, because it was the last year of our league, before we release a beautiful, beautiful app in the coming couple months. But
The coming
anyway,
weeks. The coming weeks.
we had lots to talk about. We had the final day of the league. We had the final day of the Eliminator. We had Jimmy in finals of both. We had Dean's season petering out into nothingness. We had my season ending in the battle for the Eliminator with Jimmy. We had Premier League incidents. We had European football. We had nothing happening in the relegation area. And we had ceremonies left, right, and centre. So, where the fuck do we want to start, boys?
I'm going to start by saying hello, and it's wonderful to see you both, John. John, who I see now more than my family, and Dino, who I don't see anywhere near enough of. We did, in fact, dare to go out in the real world and consume fizzy beverages while watching Liverpool and Crystal Palace yesterday, which was lots of fun and very nice to see the folk at Anfield getting to celebrate a league win with their fans, because that felt really unfair. It was like 20 years and everybody had the plague, so no one could come out and play. So it was lovely. It was a rather lovely event to see. But more importantly than the Premier League, there's our league, because as regular listeners will know, we have spent the last 11 years on a prototype league ahead of the launch of Statr draft next season. And this week it came to an end. With the final of the head-to-head league, in which Dave beat me by 7.5 points, and the last week of the Eliminator, in which John beat me by 7 points. And that's off the back of a couple of weeks ago when I got to the final of the Cup and lost to John. So I have once again managed to finish second in all three competitions. This has now happened almost 4 years in a row. Second now in 11 competitions. There's been 12 competitions in 4 years. I finished second in 11 of them and won one of them. And even I'm not convinced I won that one. I probably came second in that as well. So, yeah, but what you've got to remember is I wish I could do a London accent, because I would go off on one about how my team actually won the league, even though they didn't, like some sort of delusional gunner. No, it was a good season. I'm quite happy with how I got on. Finished the tabletop. That was satisfying. Couple of good wins, couple of good battles, load of lovely legal drama. But if we're taking a look at the three face-offs on the last day, Joey and Kim also faced off for the illustrious title for the lowest of the low, the most disgusting and disgraceful. We call it the Harrison. And that's the last place trophy. And whoever loses on that match on the last day gets the last place trophy. So we'll start there. Joey still had a team by the end of the season, but Kim did not, because Kim very kindly donated. She let us pick her apart and take her players and her joy, and she just kind of gave up. And that's okay. The season was too much for her. That happens, people. 38 weeks can be tough, if only there was a way to play shorter form. But she didn't really have a team. She scored a combined 0 from her midfield. She got 9.5 points from Hoyland, which is the best week he's had in months. And she got absolutely whacked in the final. So that was that. Nothing to sing about there. Kim gets the Harrison. Over the Eliminator, myself and John. Really, really.
That was actually a good day. So we were obviously in the pub watching it, and honest to God, that backflipped. I don't know how many times I was winning by 6 points, and you were winning by 12 points. And then at full time, we were looking at it and thought you had won by 2 points, and then kept us clean sheet came through. Dean, I don't think you understood how emotional I was when Man United got a penalty and Bruno Fernandes didn't fucking step up.
So funny. He was sitting in the pub screaming, "What the is Christian Eriksen doing? Give the ball to Bruno." It was so funny. But like the weird thing about that week is that in the actual game week itself, I outscored you by 9, but you already had enough of a lead going in. I think there was a mistake I made in my lineup that I made this time last year as well. If you throw your head back to the head-to-head final last year when Gary brought in Mateta and Mateta got a hat-trick, my only bring-in that week was Kevin De Bruyne, who promptly scored 0. And this week he once again did not play. But for that, anyone remotely competent in midfield, and I had you, but I fucking trusted Kevin De Bruyne. It was absolutely stupid in retrospect. Really level game. My two boys out front, Mbuemo and Salah on 18 apiece, another 18 from Guardiola, a healthy 9 each way from Byrne and Rice. But John's bloody midfield. Like Diaz at 16 and White at 15 was quite tasty. But if you're looking at Odegaard on 12, Matoma
Odegaard who came off the bench, might I add.
Off the bench, as did Matoma. And Fernandez on 17, and then that Viking prick Haaland put the nail in the coffin with 14 points John needed to stay ahead. So congratulations, John, Eliminator champion, and very well played by 8 points, but well done all the same. And then the big one, the head-to-head. Obviously, for anybody who's new to how we do head-to-head, it's 11 players and 7 subs, but unlike next door, your subs get half points. So it's worth having good substitutes, people. Substitutes matter, like in, a real game of football. Actual football. And this one was a much, much more balanced affair. Finish score was 108 to 101 in Dave's favour after we got all the counts in. And if I'm honest, looking at it now, I think he won it from the bench. Maguire and Kudus picking up the bones, 13, 14 points each, even halved were enough for the margin. He went in without Jackson and a weak Cunha and a weak Fernandez, a weak Guimaraes. His defence was nowhere, but there was 2 men made it happen for him, the 2 highest scoring players in Statr this week, which was Jared Bowen and Youngfla Semenyo, with the bones of 50 points between them. There's no, you can reply to that, but you can't do it if you don't have a couple of big scorers, and I just didn't have them. Again, Mbeumo and Salah and 18 each. Stupid substitution moves. Put on Kilman instead of Lacroix. That one cost me 5 points. Sulemana instead of Gibbs White. Massively disappointed in Forest, by the way, but we'll come back to that. Yeah. Another 6 points gone there. Had I picked the right players, I would have won, but that's such a stupid thing to say. I mean, if we had scored more goals, we would have won. Fair play to Dave. This was a masterclass in drafting because he hasn't been setting his lineup every week. I'm going to give you a couple of numbers now. Dave has set his lineup 5 times this year, but he drafted really, really well at the start. So he did enough to get into the playoffs, enough to get through the semis, showed up on the last day, brought the right boys on, and absolutely kicked my ass. I am the absolute other approach.
I think it was only because I randomly bumped into Dave on a night out on Saturday night and told him to set his lineup that he actually remembered that he was in the final. So I would like to contribute or feel like I not only contributed to Dave winning, but more importantly, Jimmy losing.
Yes.
So here's a fun stat for you. To give you an idea of how completely different the 2 gameplay styles are. Do you know how many players in my head-to-head squad I drafted?
Oh.
That you drafted?
That I drafted. How many of those boys are with me since the start of the season out of my 18?
4.
I'd say Salah and Mbeumo.
Correct.
Mitoma.
One more. And Mitoma. That's it. That's the only 3 I've had since the draft. And other than that, it is the ship of Theseus.
Tinkering too much.
Over tinkering.
Well, not too much. I mean, I got to the bloody final. I beat you all multiple times on the way. It wasn't a bad run.
Did you beat me multiple times? I think you might have beat me once.
I beat everyone multiple times, Dino.
I don't know. I had a pretty good record against the Cavanaghs.
You did. You're the only one who beat both myself and my brother this year, apart from each other. But yeah, it was a good run.
No. I have beaten both Cavanaghs. I have beaten you.
Have you?
I've beaten you at least twice, especially on the big days.
You beat me in the cup. You beat me in the elim. This is head to head. This is the real deal. But
anyway, I'm going to say you in the league. Don't even go there.
Let me get it out before I get sick. Congratulations, Dave, league champion, and well played. And also massive congratulations to my esteemed co-host John, who won the eliminator and the cup, which I think we're referring to as a cup double.
Cup double,
a double. But still, very good season. You remained our highest overall trophy winner type guy of all time.
You can say I'm the most successful coach in our fantasy football, is what you can say. You can just
yes. I could have said that. Luckily, I didn't.
But yeah, it was a good season. I have just as many trophies as Jimmy. I would just like to point out.
Yes,
you really hate a fact that Jimmy absolutely hates.
It hurts me. It hurts me to make work. But no, it was a good season and it was a good 11 years. And I think now is actually the perfect time for us to be moving on, because I think we've probably reached the peak of where we can go with this model. I think at this point it's good enough for all of you listeners, and we're going to be bringing to you at the end of the summer more on how you can help that happen later in the broadcast. But I think the modes we have now and the ones we're running now are absolutely the ones that people are going to like the most. Yes. I think we've tried a couple of other modes through the years. Some worked beautifully, some didn't. Some will work with an app that wouldn't work with just us. 7-a-side, what's that? Moving on. And I think we're exactly where we should be now. It's time to hang it in the Louvre and say farewell to the League of Ordinary Girls. It's been 11 beautiful years, and to any of the lads in the league, past or present, who are listening tonight, thank you so much. It has been an absolute giggle from beginning to end.
Jimmy, do you know how many players we've had over the last 11 years doing our way?
In and outs, I would say tipping 20.
Oh, so
it's actually higher.
Holy
Is it more than that?
It's 28. We've had 28 different people in and out. Yeah, because you have to remember this started with like Amo and Reese and Gareth, and they all moved off to continents new. And Dean obviously vanished over to Canada for a while. It was Canada, wasn't it? It was Canada.
No, it was Australia, and I don't think I did vanish. I think I've been here every year.
Yep, Dean, despite moving continents, stuck around.
There are 5 people playing who played our first season, and 3 of them are right here, right now. Uncle Dermot was also there.
And Gary.
Although he took a break for a while, and Gary jumped in at Halloween of the first season, which may have been why the Mad Apocalypse happened in the first place. But there's been so many people that have helped out with it over the years and have joined in, and hopefully they've enjoyed themselves, and hopefully all of us arguing about the rules as we make them up wasn't. Basically, I hope I wasn't too much of a prick commissioning this thing for the last decade. But it's probably one of my favorite things that came out of that time 10 years ago, because we were all working together.
There's a lot of stuff to like reminisce about of it. Like you had the CL, the absolute terror ground that was the CL.
League was fantastic, yeah. But like intentionally picking players just to screw people over is a beautiful, beautiful game mechanic. But that's for later. We're still fine tuning that for the public.
It's not even that. It's just the fuckery down the years. It's the contract. It's Gary's wedding. It's you've just got some epic shit that's happened down the years because of this stupid fucking game that we started so many years ago.
Yeah. Gary's wedding has to be one of the most demented weddings I've ever been to. There was a sing-song in the bathroom, and there was a goat, and that's just scratching the surface. You know what I mean? It was absolutely brilliant crack. And Gary obviously isn't with us tonight. I'm sure he'll be listening in. He may join us later on, possibly. That'd be cool. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff down through the years, and you know, obviously, like with any other group of lads or lasses or whatever you're having, that mythology will spring up, and the language will spring up, and the in-jokes and all the rest of it. But it has absolutely been so much fun. You wouldn't think that a sport that I wasn't interested in and numbers that I wasn't getting paid to crunch would provide so many hours of bloody entertainment, but they have. Like updating in the pub at halftime and here clacking through the phone while the Liverpool crowd are all sitting there waiting to like. But yeah, it's been a fun few years, and thank you, gentlemen, for the ride. And here's to where we're going next. Which brings me I
you know what? Let's give a few. I want to do the rundown of what we're up to, right? So we're obviously like we're in app testing right now. So you might have seen across the different social media channels, we put a little call to the world out today. We have set up our Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. We have a few different tiers of goodies and bits and bobs that you can get if you donate. Throw a few quid in the pot to help us get this. Like it's getting off the ground anyway. Like that's happening, but getting us from A to C, A to D, A to F faster, so that we can get a better product to you sooner. Like that's what we want to do. Like we know what we have, we know what we've made. What we made is fucking epic, and it's so close. So like we have that Indiegogo out there right now. The videos are all over the social media. Share the living fucking shit out of them. Click the link in any of the bios of any of the social media channels that you're listening to. $5 is nice. $10 is lovely. If you want to name our crocodile, give us the single biggest donation, and you get to name the official Statr mascot, whatever you want. Without it, we might have to put some stipulations on that. But yeah,
we'll be pretty loose. But
whole pile of stuff going on. So like, yeah, moving from our little dirty spreadsheet to like getting an app that's going to be on the phones very, very soon. Help us do it faster. Help us do it better. Just help. I think that's
that's the gist.
When's the first day? When's the first day? What day is first day of the season?
16th of August.
16th of August. Okay.
But we plan to have the app in hands long before we get to the first whistle being blown. And speaking of whistles being blown...
Whoa! I'm getting better at these segues.
See what I did there?
Yeah, go for it. Well, Dean.
Is it the most expensive third of a second in footballing history? Morgan Rogers and the goal that should have been, and the ref that blew his whistle too soon, and thereby may have cost Villa.
I don't know. What's your opinion? What do you think?
I think a more experienced ref would have waited till the ball was in the net, like all the others do, and then VAR can check things.
Yeah.
I think the stakes are fairly high financially, and I was talking this through last night. And to be honest with you, I'm not worried about Aston Villa, the club, not being able to pay someone $200,000 a week. I'm worried about Aston Villa, the club, having 100 million hole and having to lay off the lads to clean the place up and sell the burgers. You know, that kind of stuff.
Well, they're not at any issue with that. They're not in any issue with that. But what it is Champions League football. It's the extra weight to go by. You know, improve the squad again, another layer. You know, it's that thing of they had a really fucking good season, and for it to be kind of now they could have put it to bed 2 weeks ago. They could have put it to bed 3 weeks ago. Sure. You know what I mean, with up and down form and stuff like that. So you can't always put it down to this one bad decision. You know, they would have got good decisions. Remember a couple of years ago they stayed up with a goal that never was when the ball went over the line and the technology failed. So, like, you could argue that these decisions have leveled off because that decision on that day relegated another team and obviously cost them a fuckload of money. So, if we're going to look at it from that perspective, we're going to say, down the years, they're probably cost neutral and big decision for them and against them. If we're going to be...
I think most teams are, to be honest with you. Apart from, like, the whole thing about Fergie time, for the most part, teams do balance out the bad decisions against each other.
They generally do throughout the season, like Like,
no, but it's one of those ones that it's from the sporting piece of it. You know, that goal standing puts Villa 1-0 up, and they're in the driving seat with 15 minutes left to play for that, you know, Champions League spot. And then from the resulting attack, United scored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it was 10 minutes later and against the run of play or something like that. It was from the direct resulting passage of play.
I mean, the stakes were high for United as well. The battle for 15th place on goal difference is a really important one.
Do you know what it was? United need to break 40 points for the season.
Huh?
Breaking 40 points. That's the
shame of not breaking 40 points for the season.
Liverpool literally got double the amount of our points. I mean,
there were United fans in the hot moments after the end of the season this year talking about United winning the league next year. I don't think that's possible, but I think they could definitely win the championship the year after. And then there's Ange. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the bottom of the table here, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Coldest man in football is Ange Postecoglou. What a fucking G, by the way.
I would keep him.
I don't normally win things in my second year. I always win things in my second year.
He wasn't saying that 3 weeks ago, though.
No, but like the coldest man in football. Like, I love that.
But do they sack him?
They can't.
I would keep like at least keep him till fucking Christmas. You know, he's already giving you first. It's not like they can't sack him midway through the season, like, you know. And where did West Ham finish? You know,
West Ham won the whatchamacallit.
West Ham finished 14th, and they finished 14th, and their manager, who they sacked, David Moyes, you know, he rejuvenated Everton season. I mean, if Moyes was there at the start of the season, you know, Everton could be looking at, you know, top half of the table. But I think just keep Ange, you know, like, he's after getting your first trophy in 17 years. That comes with a lot, like, between TV money, prize money, and all the rest. That's worth 100 million to Spurs. You know,
like my dad's a Spurs fan.
Like, take it like 100 million for Denny Levy, who's one of the tightest owners in football. You know, like, that takes a lot of pressure off his shoulders as well. You know. So I would say I would be keeping him anyway. And
do you know what it was? Even for that Europa League final, he changed his style of football. Like, Spurs is gung ho up on the halfway line. They did that for the first 10 minutes or so, but then they dropped off to the edge of their box and played a way of football that you haven't seen in Spurs underneath him. He basically went into that match and went, "It's not about my style today. It's not about a philosophy. It's about winning this fucking match."
And they went. You couldn't play that style the whole season. You know, they had 8 players in the box for.
No, but but the game their game plan was to win the game. In a one-off match, it's not about our principles or anything like this. It's just about getting it over the line today, and they did.
Yeah.
He's walking away there going, I'm the first Spurs manager in 18 years to win anything? Probably the first in about 40 years to win anything relevant.
Yeah.
Like what they won was like the last captain at Spurs to lift something was Robbie Keane. And it was like, what was it? The League Cup?
Was it not Gareth Bale? Carling Cup 17 years ago?
No, I'm fairly sure it was Robbie Keane.
I don't know. Maybe Bale was in the team at the time, but he might have been captain. But yeah, no, you have to keep Ange in. But like, it just goes to show the stubbornness, like, got ahead of Ruben because, you know, for one game, massive game, just change your system, bring home the freaking trophy, and, you know, reset next season. But
United were arguably the better team in the game, but they had no firepower.
Well, they were the better team, but they were only the better team again because Spurs didn't care about having possession. They just cared about keeping the ball out of their net. So they had 8 freaking players in the box for the whole freaking game after they had scored. But yeah, again, at that point they didn't care about scoring goals. It was about not conceding goals, and they managed to do it. How many crosses did United have? Like, they must have had 20 odd crosses into the box, and like there's that fella, what was his name, Dazzy or something, or he had a couple of clearances. Your man Van de Ven, I think, had an outrageous clearance off the line.
Oh, what a clearance! That picture is just that. Have you seen the image of that? Oh,
like, we just couldn't get any headers on the ball. Like, their team, there's no firepower. Spurs were just freaking putting their bodies on the line. You know,
if United played a different formation, they still would have had the same problem.
Yeah,
there's no firepower in that squad right now. Like, the Cunha deal looks like it's about to be done. They probably are going to get the lap over the line. You're looking at.
We're looking at AC Milan's keeper as well.
But look at the forwards that they let go this year. Now, Martial finally rode off in the distance. Rashford, Sancho, Anthony. I think there was another forward, but like their forward options essentially were Garnacho, Mount, Ahmed, Højlund, and Xerxes. That was it. That was it. Like, that's not a lot.
I was surprised to see draw as well. Like, the United players, like, they weren't able to get the ball into back to the net, but I really think that Ruben was as much of he had as much of an impact on losing that game. And like, starting Højlund, I just don't understand. He hasn't been able to score all season. Xerxes, I would put Xerxes in ahead of Højlund. What?
Xerxes only went back training like 2 days before.
I think I still would have preferred to put him in even for the first 45 minutes and then bring on Højlund. But I wouldn't have started Højlund. And as well, he didn't make any substitutions until 70 minutes. Once he brought on Garnacho made a massive difference. He should have been coming on at least 60 minutes. And then Kobe Mainoo didn't start, who should have started, in my opinion, didn't come on until like the 88th minute. Just ridiculous team management from Ruben in the match, I think. And I think that, like, he is as much to blame from a management standpoint as much as players for not being able to get the ball over the line. Just watching it, just scream at TV at 65 minutes, like 70 minutes. Please bring on freaking someone who is somebody to create. I mean, like Mainoo in the Lyon game, you know, his goal that brought it to a draw was the composure that he had to be able to, like, inside the box.
The 85th minute in that game, though.
I know, but like, he still scored a goal, you know, to get us and like, he had really good composure in getting that goal as well. Like, he's just a player with a lot of creativity, I think, and composure that other players just don't have. And I would have at least liked to have seen him come in around the 60 or 70 minute. But when you're 1-0 down, wait until the 88th minute to bring him on. The only argument that I think that I can make is that maybe Ruben thought that we would get a goal and he didn't want them to be tired for extra time. It's the only defense I can give him.
You can't plan that way.
But
you got to get there first.
Yeah, I mean, Garnacho is more than capable of coming on at the 60th minute and playing, you know, an hour's football.
Do we want to mention the Garnacho thing, though? Like, because if I was a manager after his behavior after that match in the coming week, I'd be like, buddy,
he's gone.
Find a place, go apartment shopping there, buddy. You're done.
He's gone. But this is what. But it's like some of these players now. They kind of know that they're looking at players like Rashford. They're looking at players like like Pogba and Pass and Sancho. And if they want to force a move, just put up a tweet. Put out a tweet being condescending towards your manager, and the team will sell you. It's just that's all that he has to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was done intentionally, because his brother supposedly has a bit of a big mouth.
His brother put up something as well.
Yeah. But that's not for. I don't follow his brother now, so I don't know, either. It's not the first time that he's done it.
I've seen it. No, Joe, what it is? It's one of those ones. I give him some grace in some parts because he's a young fella. He's only 20 odd. You know what I mean? Like we were all dildos at 20. Like if we're going to be totally honest, I remember me at 20. I was an absolute fucking douche. We all were.
Yeah,
we're going to be honest. If you have the talent that they have, you're going to have a bit of an ego. It's knowing how to manage it. The thing is, it's really fucking complicated there with that one, because only 2 or 3 weeks ago they brought him out and let him do the media duty for the first time ever. Because obviously it's a case of we were like, oh, we're confident now that he's not going to do something stupid. And then after the game, ran his mouth. And after the game, his brother ran his mouth. There's a reason why he wasn't in the squad on the last day of the season. It was because of the carry-on. And I can only imagine what was said in private. And by all accounts, Amram has told 14 odd players that they're free to leave in the summer, and he was one of them. And the kind of quote that I've seen knocking around was like, it has nothing to do with ability, it has everything to do with attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Bad attitude spreads. It's a bad tooth, you got to pull it. Good news, though, lads, on the United front. City and Brighton haven't lost a game since Easter, so they both finished miles ahead of United in the table.
Pedro, you might be losing your.
Oh, he's gone.
He's
gone.
Chelsea looked to be picking him up.
Hecka.
But I don't think it was a.
Wait, what's going on there?
Smart clubs will be wanting to pick. He got in some sort of allegedly throwdown with Jean-Paul Van Hecke in training 2 weeks ago, and was immediately dropped from the lineup, and then was kept out this week, which means it's more than just a 1 week slap on the wrist. By all accounts, Brighton are traditionally a selling club. João Pedro is an asset that we've talked about here before as being likely to head somewhere that can give him, more glory, more chance at silverware. Although, again, 8th place, finished 4 points behind Forest in the end, thanks to a spectacular Nottingham Forest collapse. Not that it matters, because Chelsea didn't manage to pass their European place down, but anyway, more on that later. Now, João Pedro at Arsenal was the muttering we had made a while back. Liverpool at one point we were talking about, but I don't think he quite fits in there as well in the spot to replace Núñez. Plus Liverpool right now, how much do you really want to change? But he would, by all accounts, be on the way out of the Amex next year, which is a little bit of a problem, because in terms of goal production this year and match-winning goals, the reliance on Danny Welbeck has been really, really high. Now, we all love to see a veteran have a good season. It gives us heart, it gives us hope. We say, wow, this guy's been knocking around forever. Chris Wood had a great season. He had been around the edges of one for a while. Danny Welbeck's just had his best season ever as one of the best, actually one of the highest goal scoring
Jimenez brought it back around this season.
But he's one of the highest that Brighton have ever had in the Premier League, because up until then, the highest was kind of Neil Maupay at 8, 9, 10 for a long time. Jimenez brought it back around. You love seeing a veteran do well, but I don't think Brighton can over-rely on Danny Welbeck next season. I think there is going to be an age and injury issue there, so it's time to go shopping in, obscure, tiny markets again, so that's great. But I don't want to get stuck on Brighton. Forest, lads, Forest. What the fuck happened to Forest the last 5 weeks? What went wrong?
Their chairman walked out onto the pitch a few weeks ago. And
that was week 37. I mean, it was going wrong before that.
It was.
But I think probably in the background as well that might have been the kind of boiling over, but he was probably getting frustrated in the background, and I mean completely unjustified. People were saying that they were going to go down, and they could have gotten freaking Conference League. Did they get? I think they did get Conference League.
They're in the conference. They're playing European football next year.
Yeah,
when you gave that to Nottingham Forest at the start of the year, they'd have gone, yes, fucking please.
Yeah. But I mean, I think he just kind of saw his name in lights, and when
it's not even that. He's a very ambitious owner.
When the prospect of the Champions League was there and they lost it, I think he just kind of lost a run of himself a bit and handled it poorly. when in reality he should have supported Nuno's and kind of.
Well, he has form. See, the thing is, he has form for this because he owns a team over in Greece as well, and he's done shit like this before, so it's nothing new. He's a very passionate owner. Like, I will give him credit where it's due. He's put his money where his mouth is with Forest. Like, in the first 2 seasons in the Premier League, he bought a fuckload of players. Like, they brought in, was it 42 players over 2 seasons? And churned out as much. Like, he's put his money where his mouth is in terms of improving the squad. If they got Champions League money and waiting behind them with the historic reputation of Forest, he'd have put down bank in the summer. So I'm actually disappointed because I would have actually liked to have seen what the mad bastard would have cooked up in the summer.
They'll still get an influx of like TV money for the Conference League. Obviously, nowhere near the kind of money that the CL, the Champions League, will give them. But I mean, they still overachieved getting into the Conference League.
But like the ability to improve the squad next year is now, massively back down. Like, they're back in the same position as like West Ham were 2 years ago. If that means that they're a solidified mid-table Premier League team, I'm sure if you asked anybody involved with Forest 2 years ago, they'd have bit your hand off for that.
Yeah.
But when you could have been on the cusp of going, like, we can bring a team like Nottingham Forest back up to where it historically has been in the realms of football, and that's what they should. They're not going to get that chance again.
Well, no, that's what they should do. They should make that their 5-year goal. And be like within the next 5 years. And don't not say next year or the year, but say 5-year goal. If we can get Nottingham Forest in the Champions League, that would be massive for a team that was in the Championship 3 years ago.
But that's a very big if, because like for Champions League spots, you're talking maximum of 5, and when you take out Arsenal, City, and Liverpool, that's 3 gone.
Are you talking maximum of 5? Because there's 7 this year
in the Champions League.
Yeah, there's 7 in Europe. There's 5 in Champions League this year, and Villa are in Europa. Villa are in Europa, Palace are in Europa, and Nottingham Forest are in Conference.
And Spurs are in Champions League.
Well, they are.
There's 6.
8 teams. 6 in the
6 Champions League, 2 Europa, and 1 Conference, except that the Conference spot.
No, there's 3 in Europa because Palace.
Yes, that was it. Yeah. So no Conference team at all.
1.
Which is that's Forest.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I do get easily confused. So 2 teams from the bottom half of the Premier League are going to be playing European football next year.
But the thing is, as I said, like when you look at the battle for the Champions League spots, you're going to have City, Arsenal, Chelsea. Like Spurs and United will sort out their squads, especially like when they have if they're just focusing on Premier League football, while other teams are playing European football and don't have the squads to do so. You're also going to have the teams that were in and around it who are arguably bigger than Forest, which would be your Newcastle, your Villa, your Chelsea. That's already 8-5. That's without a team like a Forest having an outlier season, or a team like Brentford or Brighton trying to push on. Like it's it's gone.
But even just you say there, John, like you put Villa into that category. I mean, 4 years ago, Villa wasn't even in this conversation about being in Europe,
Nor Newcastle.
So with the right kind of like management and the right investment in the team, you never know what could happen with Nottingham Forest. But at the same time as well, it could just be a complete freak season like Leicester. Leicester won the freaking Premier League and went down 2 years later. Nottingham Forest could go down next year.
I don't think they will, but yeah, I get the.
I don't think they will either, but what they do need to, I think a big concern for them now is that Wood is 33 years old. They need to be looking at investing in a striker, I think, this summer. Wood might be able to do it for another year for them, but they can't rely on him the same way Leicester have relied on Vardy for the past decade.
No, like Leicester, God bless them, they tried to replace Vardy with shite.
I apparently as well I saw Leicester or Vardy is linked with Crystal Palace.
Yep, saw that.
Like he's 38 years old. What if Palace just won the FA Cup? But that makes you think then, are Palace maybe preparing to lose Mateta, maybe, if they're looking at it?
Yeah, but Vardy wouldn't be going anywhere to be a starter anyway.
Yeah, I still think it's mad that Premier League.
I think it's a good deal if he.
I thought he was going to retire, to be honest.
He's a backup striker, and they can get the lad that they loaned from Arsenal this year back from Wednesday game because he didn't have a good season. Eddie Nketiah.
Kedia, yeah.
Didn't have a good season for Palace, so they can send him back. Bring in someone like Jamie Vardy, who's a good older head in his dressing room. But that's arguably a very young team when you actually look at it. That Palace team. No, it's not. It is quite a young squad overall.
It's getting filled.
It's going to be interesting
this year.
Well, it's going to be interesting with Palace because you would have said 2 months ago that they were in trouble of getting ripped asunder. Like that Gahey could have been. Like Gahey's been threatening to go for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like last year, they obviously lost the likes of Anderson and Olise. Adam Wharton is obviously going to be sniffed around. Gahey's going to be sniffed around. Muno has put his hand up and went, I'm ready to go up the league. Eze, I'm shocked that nobody's come in for him. Mateta deserves to be playing on a better team. And then you have Romain Esse, who seems like a fucking regen for Eberechi Eze.
Yeah.
I actually think that Arsenal,
is their future.
I think that Arsenal should maybe think about looking at Mateta or Wisa.
Pedro.
No,
although
Pedro's Chelsea bound. Pedro's Chelsea bound, I think. He's not good with Arsenal.
All right.
I think they should look at Wisa or Mateta.
I had this wild image in my head of a Portuguese-speaking coach who's Chris Wood is about to get old, and a Portuguese-speaking Brighton forward who's been told to go fuck himself, and mashing those two together and seeing what comes out. See how much of that lovely Nottingham Forest money we can get for Brighton.
That makes it sound like Chris Wood is going to go play in Turkey for Jose Mourinho next year, but okay.
I mean, look, Chris Wood, if we want to go there, has had one very, very good season. I was so wrong at the start of the year. I said Chris Wood was a draft trap, and I stand by it. At the time, I was absolutely right. The man has 4 years of playing for 6 weeks a year. He goes to Forest. He's properly coached. He's properly supported, and he comes second in the boot for the year. Second highest goal tally for the year between Mo and Erling Haaland.
Mo had a crazy season. Most goal. So he joined the record for most goal contributions in the season, 47 goals and assists, equaling the record set by Andy Cole and Alan Shearer, who both did it in 42 game seasons.
Do you want to hear a crazy stat that I saw? And it goes, we talked about Bruno being first round draft pick, and some people are wondering, Bruno plays for Man United, how is he getting for that? Bruno this year created the most chances in the Premier League, and what's more is that's his 5th time doing it with United in this Manchester United team. Out of all teams in the Premier League.
Bruno Fernandes is why you support a Premier League football team. You take Bruno Fernandes away from Old Trafford, and that club, like it's like pulling the stopper out of a bath. You just hear a sucking noise and everything's gone.
Yeah,
I think he's the kind of player you can drop into any team because he just kind of does shit.
Yep.
Because Dean, you also say people, I think, underrate his running numbers.
Yeah, this is nuts. You were telling me about this.
He was telling me that Mo, what was he, top 10 most distance covered by any Premier League player this season or something? I think it could have been top 5, but I don't want to overreach. It was definitely in the top 10, like distance covered. Like the man covered a lot of ground.
Not what he's known for, but still what he's excellent at. And that just shows how many strings are in that bow. And I don't like being this complimentary about the Man United captain. I think he's an awfully temperamental prick. And he looks like the guy from 2 pints longer and a pack of chips. A pack of crisps. That always annoys me. Ralph Little, is it? Yeah. Anyway. But he's been stellar. And he's the only one who's been stellar. The rest of that squad is statistically shite. So I suspect United without Bruno is going to be a very, very sad thing should that day ever come. I don't know why he hasn't left yet. I don't know why he hasn't gone to a team where he can win things.
He seems to really, really love United. I don't understand it, but he seems to really. It's strange, to be honest.
It's not though, because remember he would have been a Ronaldo fan in his earlier years when he was a teenager. When Ronaldo would have been tearing it up at United. He's gone playing for a very big team. He's a captain. From a fellow that was playing at Sporting and being touted with Spurs about a year before he ended up at United to end up as the captain and to, as you said, 5 years in a row with double digits goals and assists. And only player to do that. That's why he loves the club. He's been able to step up and become one of the best midfielders in the league. I know a lot of people are going to disagree because he is a sulky man. But fact of the matter is, he would start in any Premier League team. He's the only player at United who you could say that about, but he would start for every single Premier League team.
Yeah, no, he would. And arguably a lot of teams in Europe as well.
No, he'd start for them too, I think.
Huh?
I think he'd start for them too. I think the only team where maybe Madrid.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
But before the clock on the wall chases us all down and devours us in a bloody mess of gore and lost promises, we don't have Gary, and he's usually the keeper of memory when it comes to predictions. But gentlemen, before we wrap it up for this evening and let people know how they can keep in touch with us, even though the football is gone, I want to hear your predictions for next year. I want one fucking hot take prediction for next year's Premier League. And just to kick things off, I'm going to make mine first. I think the top half team this year is going to get relegated next year, and it's
Bournemouth.
They're losing a lot of their players. They're losing Huyson to Madrid, Kirkus to
Bournemouth to get relegated next year.
I'm going to say Bournemouth are going to get, if not relegated, they'll be bottom 5. They're going to really, really struggle next year, and that's my hot take for the day. Dino, what do you got for us?
It pains me to say it, but if they can get a quality striker, I think Arsenal could be champions next year. I think so. I think if they can get
I'm actually disgusted by you.
I do think if they can get a quality striker, they have a good chance of winning next year. But Liverpool are also making some good signings early on already. But
before we get demonetized and the algo turns on us, I'd like to issue an unabridged apology for the language just used by Dean in the last 60 seconds of this broadcast.
What?
If any children or listeners are upset by the idea of Arsenal winning the league, if you need any support,
I'm sorry, but I know. But what's beautiful about that is there's 3 teams in London that are going to have a trophy this year, and none of them are Arsenal.
Yeah, that is a lovely thought.
John, what's your prediction for the year to come?
I have two. Of
course you do.
Because one's my prediction. One's my hopeful prediction every year that Fulham are going to qualify for Europe.
I can see it.
They had their best ever points total this season. Yeah. Most goals by substitutes this season. They really fucking fought it out. Like, I remember they got to Europa League final, obviously, after having a season with less points than this year. So I'm going to go for Fulham to qualify. If they keep Marco Silva, Fulham will qualify for Europe next year. They progressively improved under him. I'm going for that.
Only a salesman could present goals by subs as a crucial metric. What's your second prediction?
It's about fight and desire, my friend. It's about having a guy in the pocket, a Harry Wilson, who can just pop up and do bits. It's going to be between him and Matoma for goal of the year. But anyway, my other prediction is, and it's literally because I've got some hate online about it, and I'm going to now double down and stick to my guns. And Wolves, I'm sorry, you're going down.
Oh no, not the Wolves people.
So who says up?
Leeds are going to stay up.
Who?
Wolves are going to go down.
Leeds
they're going to sell Ait-Nouri. They're going to sell Cunha. They're probably going to sell your man. I know your man Gomez signed a contract this year, but like a contract is toilet paper at Wolves if someone comes in with a few quid for him. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think
you're right about Leeds, but I think it's Bournemouth instead of Wolves. But that's if Gary was here, he would say something about City coming fourth. But anyway, I think that's us for this evening.
I think I'm good.
John, you want to remind people all of the wonderful ways they can help us out?
I'm just going to do it quick. Ready. Over on statterdraft.com, we have a whole pile of articles. All the articles, you might say they're the best articles in the whole goddamn planet when it comes to football. That would be a lie, but it's a lie that we're going to stick to over here at statterdraft.com, STATRDRAFT.com. See, there's the pitch. We're over on Indiegogo right now. We're looking for some money. We're looking for some love. Throw us a few quid from your pocket and help us get this app out there faster. Join the waiting list, do the stuff. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on all of the social medias. Is that speedrunning everything that you need to know?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's been a great season, and we're not going anywhere. We'll be here through the summer to keep an eye on things. We're not going to be taking the summer. We might not be back next Monday, but we will not be disappearing for 8 weeks.
No, I think we'll take a week.
We'll probably take a week.
And then we're going to be coming back with literally showcasing the app to everybody, giving like our tips and tricks for drafting next year. Essentially, the podcast is going to transition more into showing everybody how to play the Statr way next year.
Yeah, and we can't wait to have you with us, guys, because it's going to be amazing. But for now, peace out. Much love to all.
Sorry, the obvious way to sign off on Tlug is Dean's going to win the league.
Dean's going to win the league.